Welcome to Rob Schmitt tonight. Nothing has exposed the elitist rot that is the Democrat Party more than its obsession with prosecuting Donald Trump. Today, House Judiciary Republicans forced a field trip to New York to illustrate exactly what's happening here, while Manhattan's DA ignores or downgrades effectively all crimes, aside from the politically manufactured allegations against former President Trump. Before the hearing, Congressman Jerry Nadler jumped in front of the media and insulted the victims or the families of murder victims who were set to testify. Nadler waddled over to the microphone and called the entire thing a charade, with New York's mayor at his side.
Don't be fooled. This is not a serious exercise. This is a political stunt. This hearing is being called for one reason and one reason only: to protect Donald Trump.
It is really troubling that Americans' taxpayers' dollars are being used to come here on this junket to do an examination of the safest big city in America.
So Nadler's comments were entirely expected, but what we heard today from the mayor of New York was very interesting. Eric Adams trying to project the appearance of this safe, big, cohesive city that's running so well and protect Alvin Bragg's reputation. But until very recently, here is how Eric Adams sounded when he spoke about New York under Alvin Bragg.
They say the definition of insanity is to do the same thing repeatedly, but expect different results. Our criminal justice system is insane. It is dangerous, it is harmful, and it's destroying the fabric of our city.
So very duplicitous. So what exactly has changed? Well, the mayor's allegiance has changed. Ripped away from the people of New York, his alliances are clearly now with the Democrat machine. There were a number of powerful moments today, including from a woman named Madeleines, whose son, an Army veteran, was stabbed and beaten to death in Harlem 5 years ago by a group of strangers. Madeleines is a woman who desperately needs closure and whose case, her son's case, after so many delays, finally ended up in the hands of Alvin Bragg. Here she was.
He was handed a strong trial-ready case, ready to go to trial. As soon as he took office, the case immediately began to unravel. He dismissed, completely dismissed, gang assault and murder indictments against two of the defendants clearly on video participating in the brutal, savage slaughter of my son.
She was really something to hear today. Imagine the feeling of helplessness that she's felt for the last almost 5 years. Your child is murdered by a pack of strangers. It's all caught on video. The people who are supposed to fight for you, for some reason, only seem interested in protecting your child's killer, which is what you have when you have a DA system like this. You basically have two different sets of defense attorneys for whoever's alleged to have committed a crime. Madeleine's rage would be evident later on when Adam Schiff's pawn, a guy named Dan Goldman, a congressman from New York and a freshman, called the hearing a charade. Here is how Madeleine responded.
Can I
in
respond
New York
to
City,
you, please?
no, not right now because I only have 20 seconds. I'm sorry. But I do want to
Don't insult my intelligence. You're trying to insult me like I'm not aware of what's going on here. That's why I walked away from the plantation of the Democratic Party.
The plantation of the Democratic Party. It's very, very well said. The illusion that Democrats care about quality of life, about inner city residents, especially black residents, that illusion is collapsing, as it should be. Nobody who cares about a group of people would impose policies that kill them so rapidly. And black people die at a much faster clip under Democrats than they do under Republicans. It's not even up for debate. It's not a talking point. It's simply a fact. You can check it in a myriad of different ways. Alvin Bragg's reform laws are not about safety. The real goal is a revolution in this country, and they must create disorder to get there. This system, this beautiful functioning system we've had for hundreds of years, has to look so broken that the people beg for authoritarian socialism, which is what the modern American left is offering. Alvin Bragg's contribution to New York, incentivizing criminals. That's what he does, downgrading charges against almost everyone except Republican presidents, I should say. And when the helpless victims finally get their day, when they finally get a chance to speak out against a system that works against them, a system that they pay for with their tax dollars so that it can work against them after they are victims of crime, and when Democrats are forced to listen, here is what they look like. I took this video on my cell phone. That's Adam Schiff. As victims testify today, Adam Schiff buried in his phone, texting. They all care just as little as Alvin Bragg does. I stopped by that hearing to talk to some of the people who showed up. I found many who were not Trump supporters, because that's what the left says this is, right? It's a distraction from Trump. I found a lot of people who found his prosecution to be infuriating, even though they don't support him, because his prosecution came from a DA's office that prosecutes next to nothing. A Democrat New York councilman from Queens showed a lot of political bravery. He showed up today in support of Jim Jordan's hearing, and then he talked to us.
I am Robert Holden, a Democratic City Council member. It was kind of demoralizing to see my colleagues in the Democratic Party turn it into a partisan event. I didn't look at it that way. I think we should have more hearings on victims' rights.
How have we devolved to the point where victims are being treated as, just inconvenient details, and criminals are being treated as victims in our society? I feel like that's kind of where we are.
That's the bizarro world, I call, in the Superman comics, where the worlds are upside down, where good is bad and bad is good.
That's a Democrat, New York City councilman from Queens, who gets it. The rest of the people in his party get it too. They just can't admit it. And then there's the story of Jennifer Harrison, whose boyfriend and his best friend were murdered in New York almost 20 years ago. A woman who now fights for victims' rights at a time when victims in New York have absolutely no voice at all.
Normally, the criminals exude this depravity, yet here we have the one that is supposed to prosecute them as the one showing it.
Unfortunately, there's a depraved indifference sweeping across society towards human life, even amongst elected officials and district attorneys. And people like myself, Madeline, we need you guys to keep telling our story so that everybody realizes that there's a human element behind these statistics. We're not just numbers, we're human beings, and we suffer lifelong, endless consequences.